This is a historic shift. If you redefine the functionality of Article 2 of the American Constitution such that it outweighs executive power versus the power of the people versus the power of Congress versus the power of independent bodies, effectively, including, by the way, the Department of Justice that has since the 70s functioned as an independent agency, even though it technically is linked to the executive. Those are the kind of principles and principle changes that you won't be able to turn back in another administration, a Democratic administration. Those are historic shifts that will influence the functionality of American democracy from here on into the future. I think conversely, the United States has learned from other countries that have gone through different levels of autocratization in their own recent history. So if you look particularly at Poland, the changes to the judicial system, the changes to its higher courts, those were the changes that within one administration, a shift in administration back to more democratic, small d leaning functionalities, you could not immediately take back. So the minute you begin to put your scale on things like the independence of judiciary or the independent structure of a constitutional court, in our case, the Supreme Court, that's when you begin to really shift structural functionality within a democracy. And we haven't in recent examples seen that even in countries that shift back toward democracy, that is easily done. So there's a tendency to see them as semi-permanent changes. And if so, they are unable to fulfill the full control function that they are supposed to, in terms of the constitutions of the countries that shape them. Well, I think the transatlantic relationship is already damaged, and perhaps irreparably so. The Europeans have taken a lesson from this first year of the Trump administration that the United States, as a partner, as an ally, is not to be trusted anymore. And that lesson is a painful one because it comes with fundamental shifts in the way that the European economic system has to work, in the way that we think about closing off potentially our economies if we need to, the way that we might weaponize parts of our economy on which the United States depends, these kind of things that were always marked by interdependence that undergirded the way that we worked as allies. And it comes particularly to a head on the security portfolio. The European Union has very clearly, and the European allies in NATO have very clearly taken the message that now is the time to become sovereign, to become independent from the United States, not at the exclusion of the United States, ideally always with the United States, but not knowing whether the United States will be a trustworthy partner going forward, and to bring that back in terms of trust, in terms of credibility for an administration that might follow this administration. That's a gargantuan 4-year fulfilling task, which I believe the Europeans are even then not going to necessarily believe is fully credible.